Hello everyone, welcome to another video here on the Tavern Gaming channel. My name is Rune. Today I'm joined by 6
Hey guys.
and today we're going to be talking about the Battlefield series. We're going to have a little bit of a reflective discussion about the series, its past, present, and where it's going in the future.
So to get started, Rune, tell me how you got into Battlefield.
My first experience with Battlefield was back in 2008 when I started playing Battlefield Bad Company for the Xbox 360. It was a Christmas gift that my younger brother got, and him and I used to play together, like doing the story missions, taking turns doing missions, or going into private lobbies and exploring the maps and things like that. We didn't have a rolling Xbox Live subscription at the time, so
Right.
we just we played locally, played offline, and we played it through there that way. I remember the story mode. I recall being very attached to the characters. I thought they were really funny. The Bad Company Squad, which conveniently, that's what the game is named after, Bad Company. Not the music band, but this military squad, or this army squad. It's supposed to be this, the story revolved around these guys who were basically like supposed to be like cannon fodder. You know, they were the
Right.
guys that they sent in first. They get shot right away. So it was Marlowe, Haggard. Definitely Haggard was the crazy guy. Sarge and Sweetwater. Sweetwater was the guy with the big glasses, and I just remember they were just complete screw ups. That's what I remember. Bad Company 1 was my first foray into it, and since then I've been playing Battlefield ever since. I've gotten every Battlefield game that's come out since Bad Company 1. So, Sick, how did you get involved into Battlefield?
Well, funny story for me, it's also Bad Company as well, but how I got it was a lot different than a birthday present. I actually got it at a Blockbuster when they used to still be around.
A
Used.
Blockbuster? What?
Yeah. Ancient 90s store. Yeah, so I picked it up from a Blockbuster for about $9.99. I started playing through the story mode. Mainly, I just remember playing the multiplayer, and that was the most fun I ever had with a first-person shooter in terms of like openness. I know usually with we think about like older first-person shooter, you think of the older Call of Duties, and it's just like very closed-spaced. This was the first-person shooter I played that had an open setting, and I really liked it. From then on, I was just addicted to the Battlefield series.
Do you remember for Bad Company multiplayer? Do you remember? I think for the main game mode, it was like called Gold Rush. It was essentially
Gold
Rush, but it was Gold Rush, and the objective was you had to destroy or defend the gold bars. Hence the name. If you didn't know already, hint hint.
Yeah.
Gold Rush. You had to destroy the gold, and then didn't they put in Conquest later? Or I don't know if that was
I believe
a mode
they put it in.
that shipped with it.
I think they put it in later, because I don't remember playing any other mode besides Rush until like way later.
When did you start playing online? So you had an Xbox Live subscription right away then, so you were able to play online, like way back when you had you're able to play normally online. Had to use those free trials.
I actually did have some free trials, and at the beginning opening stages of the 360, I did not have a subscription, but as Battlefield Bad Company released, I was able to, get some of the cards that, you do the scratch off with the coin and you redeem for a month or so. So I used those to play with Bad Company online, and it was a blast.
Yeah, I recall that back then my family wasn't really into the whole monthly subscription thing. In their eyes, the monthly subscription was the bills, it was the electricity, the heat. Xbox Live. Well, what is Xbox Live, they say? Don't you put the cartridge in the system and you play with your friends? No, Ma. You have to pay online. Yeah, go get a job. Go pay for it. So since we're talking about our online experiences and things like that, Sick, what sort of player were you online? How did you play? What was like your role, or that attracted you to most?
So, I was always the medic class because I always wanted an advantage to always regain health while on the battlefield. No pun intended. And I was always tired of just dying or running around with like very little health. So, I would play as a medic. Other classes I played as well. I do jets, attack helicopters, and I was a tank camper. So I would get my tank and sit all the way in the back and just pick off
Oh
little
my.
dots on the screen.
Oh man. So you were a camper. You were a camper tanker.
I was a camper
Didn't
tank.
help your team. You just sat in the back of the map. Oh my
Racked
god.
up those kills.
Oh my goodness. How many times were you C4 back then? You must have been a prime target for those C4 Jeeps back in the day. There's that six shock. There he is, camping in the corner with his tank. Blow him up.
So, funny story, I've never been Jeep brand with C4, but I've always been hit with all the rockets and attack helicopters beyond so many times I can't even recall.
I can only imagine. There's that sick guy, that son of a...
He's up on that hill. What about you? What kind of player were you?
I went through various stages throughout my Battlefield career, if you want to call it that. So, bad company. Yes, look at my gamer card. I'm a professional gamer. My Battlefield career. So, Bad Company 1, Bad Company 2, I was mainly a infantryman. So, like you, I played mainly as a medic or as an assault player. Back then, it was a little different, right? The assault and medic were two separate things.
Yeah.
And then Battlefield 3 and onwards, they merged it together. So I kind of switched
yeah.
between the two, between the assault and the medic. When Battlefield 3 rolled around, I started transitioning to a tanker role. So I first started learning how to operate and learn tank controls by operating as a gunner. So I was like a secondary person in a tank. So I was the guy who would operate the turret. I'd be the guy who would repair the tank. Whoever is the main person driving. So that's basically how I watched by learning, by observing. Eventually, I got enough self-confidence to start driving myself, and then the rest is pretty much history. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, major into tanks. I love tanks. You'll always find me in there. I mean, the way I always see it was, with my role on Battlefield, I was like, so I felt that my role was to support the infantry, push onto flags, defend the infantrymen while they're capping the flags, and all that fancy stuff. So that's what I like doing. With concerns to after Battlefield 4, Hardline was very infantry based, so I went back to my medic roots, played as the medic. Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, same sort of deal, play as primarily as medics.
You'd say you'd have a lot of memories with the games through its history. What would you say is your most memorable experience with the Battlefield franchise?
My most memorable experiences with Battlefield, man. I mean, I don't know. It's funny to think about, all the years, with the Battlefield series, all the memories, all the good times, all the matches played. I mean, I used to be really into Battlefield. Like, I would play every single day for X amount of hours, sometimes into double digits. I was a Battlefield fiend. So to name all the experiences or try to pinpoint a single one, I think may be a little bit hard for me. So I'll try to cover a couple things. I may cheat a little bit on this question. I'm going to provide you a couple of experiences.
Oh, cheating.
So one, kind of as a broad thing. Okay, listen. I'm editing this damn thing. I can cheat if I want. God dang it.
All right, fine, but you better put a cheater alert before you start talking.
All right, cheater alert. There. Ding, ding, ding. Cheater. So as sort of a broad experience or memory is all the Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 game nights and events that we've done as a community over the years. I always cherish those. They were a lot of fun, especially the summers of 2015. The summer of 2015, every Saturday night we'd be playing Battlefield up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It was a lot of fun. When we did the Battlefield 3 throwback nights, that was really cool. I felt like I was able to share and experience Battlefield 3 with my friends here, and it was like, wow, it's so cool to be able to share this experience, share this game with these people who for some of them was their first time playing Battlefield 3, and it was nice to see them like, oh wow, this is a cool game, things like that.
Really?
So it was really nice. Back in Battlefield 3, I used to be part of a platoon. Back then, it was mainly that's where I kind of learned or I got into community organizing, where I kind of honed in my craft, sharpened the bones a little bit. So I remember all the clan matches that we used to do back then. I recall also back in Battlefield 3 we did a 2.5-hour CN crossing match, and we only won by like 3 points. It's still up on my battle log somewhere. The report from that match, 2.5 hours long. I don't know how we did it, but we won.
I was gonna just say really quickly, I think you're showing our age here, just recommending to our viewers to look up on Battle Log. That
Battle log. Oh, don't even get me started on that battle log. I'm glad you brought that up. I wasn't gonna go on a rant about battle log on how they shut down battle log, or battle log is not as featured or supported as much anymore. Just to give some context, battle log was back then like the place, the hub for the Battlefield community back then. That's where all the platoons, all the clans, all the players used to go on there, talk on the forums, share videos, things like that. It was really a nice place back then, Battlelog, and you could share reports, share your matches, stats, things like that. So yeah, Battlelog, it's a relic. I mean, it's still up now. You can still go on there now, but it's definitely not the way it used to be. So very nostalgic. I get very teary-eyed over Battlelog. What it could have been. Maybe another universe somewhere, and Battlelog is still there, but a lot of good times on there. Conversations, chats, discussing people with strategies, things they learned in the maps, things like that. Discussions, everything. So Battlelog, definitely an old time form.
I only used Battlelog for Medal of Honor Warfighter. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, Modern Warfighter. Woohoo! Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Battlelog, it supported Warfighter, supported Hardline, had a bunch of. It seemed like it was the hub for all these DICE games, and then when Battlefield 1 came around, they just let it go.
Yeah.
But I think we'll probably get into that more. That was a mistake on their part, in my humble opinion. I'll probably get into that more in the discussion. But in the meantime, let's get all the positivity first out of the way. Before we start, let's get the positive stuff out of the way first, okay? So I talked about my experiences. What were some of your memorable experiences on Battlefield? What do you recall? What's memorable to you?
So I definitely say I have 4 memorable moments that instantly come to my head right off the top. And they're all Battlefield 3 related. So my earliest 2 were back when I was in high school. On one of the Armored Kill maps, which was a DLC for Battlefield 3, I was in a ATV with a friend, and we were getting chased by one of the little birds. And it was just riding so close, and I was just in the back seat and telling my friend at the time to, let's go, hurry up, drive, he's right on our ass.
Oh my goodness.
Hilarious. And I just saw the bullets hitting the ground, just like getting closer and closer to the bike. It was really funny.
Oh, very cinematic. Very cinematic, like you're running away from this chopper. It's like something you see out of like a military movie or something.
Yeah, well, it actually ties in with that campaign with only in Battlefield moments. So I would definitely say that was only in Battlefield.
Man, yeah.
Moment. My second one was also, again, like I said, was in high school, where I had all my high school friends, and we lined up to get ready to jump off the cliff in Devon Peak. So it was just nice to see all my friends like just Geronimo and just jump all the way down. I was like, that is something I cannot forget. The last 2 were pretty recent and are closely tied with the community. I first got involved with the community with Battlefield 3 back in 2017.
Yep.
So that is one of my top moments, definitely. Meeting everybody and getting to know everybody just from, playing the same love of Battlefield 3. I really cherish that, and I'm grateful for that. My other one is also, it was actually with you. There's footage of it somewhere in the Ethernet. It was when I took C4 and I threw it all over your tank, and we charged at another tank, and I detonated it, and I killed the tank.
You're crazy, man. That was a couple months after you joined anyway. I knew then this man's a crazy man. This guy's a crazy motherfucker.
But
I mean, if you could see me right now, I have the biggest smile on my face right now. I'm so glad you remember those things, and you said that Battlefield 3 was your first experience with the community, and I remember that still now like it was yesterday. I remember you trying to message me. Can I play? Can I play? I must have not seen it.
Waited 20 minutes.
Before you sitting there.
I'll let everybody know.
20 minutes.
I waited 20 minutes for a response from this guy.
I don't. I must have not seen it. What do you want? I was doing something. Okay. I didn't see it. I didn't see it at first, but I did see it, and I did invite you. So I did not leave you hanging. Yeah, I remember it was very funny looking back. The first interactions, you joined the party. You were very, a little quiet. You were quiet, but I'll be honest. The first impression that I got of you, I thought you were like this middle-aged biker guy, like in his 40s or 50s. Like your voice sounded a little gruff, and I thought you were like coughing, but it was actually you like laughing when you do that laugh that you do. And I thought you were like coughing. And I was like, oh, well, he's a very nice guy. I just got that person of you, this impression of like you were this biker guy, with this very gruff voice. But it was actually just your old headset or your other headset, and your mic was far away, and you sounded really different. And every time you would laugh, it sounded like you'd be coughing. I thought you'd be coughing every time you laughed, like right there, like. And I'm like, oh my god. I thought it was hilarious, and then you came back next week because we did back-to-back Battlefield 3 events, and then you sounded normal. I was like, oh, I was completely wrong. And then, funny thing, years later, I actually met Sick's dad because he was playing Modern Warfare, and Sick graciously invited me to tag along because we were playing, and because Sick's part of a gaming family, a lot of his family members play. They were playing Modern Warfare, and they invited Sick. And Sick was like, "Well, hold on, let me go to game chat really quick." And he said, oh, "Let me take my friend with me." So thank you, Sick. You didn't leave me. You invited me to introduce me to your dad. And I felt like I was going through a time warp because when he started talking, I felt like I was back in September 2017 when I first met you. I was like, okay, this is where I got this from. This is where he gets it from. It's like I felt I was talking to you for the first time. I was like, wow, okay, I see where I got this from, where he gets it from. So it runs in the family. So maybe that's what you'll sound like later on. But,
I hope I sound more cheery than that. But
yeah, freaking campus.
But I mean, yeah,
that was a lot. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And definitely, as you said, my family's big on gaming. My dad also. I have a lot of history with Battlefield 4. Just going over his house on the weekends and playing with him because he loved Battlefield 4. I would literally have to bring my TV downstairs to put it next to his 65-inch plasma screen TV while I got my little 20-inch TV and playing Battlefield right next to each other.
Papa's sick. He knows how to play, baby. 64-inch TV, come on.
Definitely those were the top moments that were most memorable to me in the Battlefield franchise.
That's nice. I'm happy that that we both have some personal connections to the game apart from just this I like the story was okay. I like because of the story. It's like, well, there was a personal connection. There's a history somewhere. You with your family or with us with the community, things like that. I'm glad that there's that this series has established that sort of connection, has that history there. And there was one moment, really quick, that you mentioned Battlefield 3 when we were playing Battlefield 3. There's a picture out there as well. So not only did you almost try to kill me with the C4 with the tank, there was another incident where we were playing Caspian Border, and somehow, I don't know how this happened, but Sick was in a tank, and I was running across the field. He's like, "Oh, Rune, get in my tank, in my tank." And I was like, no. And then something, I don't know if you hit a rock, or you hit the debris from the tower falling down, but you flipped your tank over. And I turned around, and I just see you upside down in a tank. And I'm like, how the hell did this happen? How did you get yourself in this situation? I have a picture out there somewhere. I'll try to find it, put it up on the screen. But it was just wacky moments, just crazy moments, little things like that. The little moments like that are dotted around, over the years. Well, geez, it seems like we're going down memory lane here, Sick. It's quite the long road. We're talking about all these older games, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, the Bad Company series. We mentioned Hardline, the newer Battlefield ones. Sick, do you still play Battlefield?
Oh, I definitely do. I haven't stopped playing Battlefield titles since Bad Company, and I've enjoyed every entry into the franchise since then. What about yourself, Rim?
I definitely don't play as much as I used to. I will admit, you caught me red-handed. I mentioned that I
Oh, no.
used to be a Battlefield fiend. I used to play, double-digit hours. With these newer games, I don't know. Maybe it's just doesn't feel the same to me anymore. I mean, I definitely play them. I've bought them, done the campaigns, played the onlines and everything, but definitely not as much as I used to compared to the olden days. So I mean, there's a host of reasons maybe why I don't anymore. Maybe just there's more games to play. There's more variety, more time allocated to other things. Maybe disagreements. Maybe I don't feel that the battlefields have the current ones don't have the same feeling as the old ones.
Mhm.
So the host of reasons. I don't want to spoil anything for the future for the questions coming up. But
So when you played every Battlefield title since Bad Company #1, what would you say out of those titles stood out the most to you?
for Battlefield games that stood out to me the most, definitely it would have to be Battlefield 3. My most favorite Battlefield game out of all the games since Bad Company. I would like to know. I haven't played any of the like 1942, the original ones. Anything that came before Battlefield, I didn't play, so I can't
Mhm.
really comment on those. But for
Before
anything
Bad
that
Company?
came out after, yeah, before Bad Company, I can't really
Mhm.
comment on those. I did play 1943 or 1942 remastered with you and Delta that one time. So for those games, unfortunately, I can't include in this answer. So it's only going to be from Bad Company onwards. So favorite game, the games that stood out to me the most: Battlefield 3, Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 4. Those are my three top Battlefield games of all time. What were the Battlefield games that stood out to you the most? Which ones did you like?
So for me, my list is a little bit longer, but I would definitely go with 1943. I bought that day one when it came out. I loved the World War II setting for Battlefield, especially like having the two ships out, like the Iwo Jima map back then. You'd start off on these aircraft carriers and make your way towards the island. I thought that was awesome. So 1943, Battlefield 3. I just had so many memories with Battlefield 3. Battlefield 4 as well. I'll throw that in there because I also have, like I had just stated a little earlier, have memories with that game as well. And then, shockingly, I will say also, I mean, some people may not agree with me, but Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 are on my
Oh my
ones that stood
god!
out to
How
me as well.
could you?
Now,
How dare you like these games?
I'll just keep it a little very brief before going into spoiler territory for later on. But for Battlefield 1, the Grand Operations mode is what drew me the most. I love that mode. And then with Battlefield 5, it's just the return to World War II.
World War II. I think, for those who don't know, Sick has a bit of a fascination. He's a bit of a World War II buff. He also likes his World War II video games. So it's funny that you mentioned that. Battlefield 5 World War II, Call of Duty World War II,
Oh,
Medal of
geez.
Honor, all those games. He's just a
Yeah,
big World War II guy. Every time there's a World
uh,
War II game, we gotta play this game, we gotta play.
I could thank Papa Sick for that, for let me uh, have my World War II history buff mentality shine through every now and then.
Alrighty, so we're talking about our favorite battlefields. What were some of your favorite battlefield maps? We like these games, but were there any maps that stood out in particular that you liked the most in these games?
So, all right, it's gonna be a little bit of a long list, so bear with me, everybody. So, starting with Battlefield 3, I'll say Operation Metro. Just how fun it was to play on that map and racing through the subway, and Grand Bazaar for the street battle in the Middle Eastern setting. I thought was really interesting. For Battlefield 4, I would say Siege of Shanghai, Dawnbreaker, and the Gulf of Omen, which is a remake, or a little bit of a remaster from the BF3 back to Karkland DLC. From Battlefield 1, I love the Grand Operations map that takes place in the Argonne Forest, and the Saint Quentin Scar, which is like a trench. It has a little bit of a trench warfare feel to it. The attacking team has to charge at the defending team, while the defending team has machine gun emplacements and things like that. So I just think it's really cool seeing these waves of enemies and having to like just barely stop them with just your squad and the little machine gun that you're given. And then lastly, with Battlefield 5, the Pacific update included Iwo Jima and Wake Island, which were both revisions of 1943, when also Battlefield 1943 had Iwo Jima and Wake Island. I felt like these were better to real-life interpretation in terms of these locations, and it was just really interesting and fun to play on. But what about yourself?
Let's start where it all began. Bad Company 1. So Bad Company 1, my all-time favorite Bad Company 1 map has to be Harvest Day. And this was also a map in Bad Company 2. So Harvest Day, it was like it was a farm area, like this village. It's supposed to be taken from the campaign where the country that you're fighting in, that Haggard accidentally invades when he's going after the gold. So with Bad Company 2, two maps that stood out to me were White Pass. So that was the one you were like you were in the snowy mountains. It was winter, and you had to fight through this another village that was on the side of a mountain. It's kind of like there was a military base secretly hidden back there. I absolutely love winter, anything snow themed, Christmas related. So I loved, trying to sneak through the forest. Everything's snowing. Hear the little snow, the crackling of the snow when you're walking on, and maybe someone's trying to come up behind you and knife you. I'm probably going to butcher the name. I keep thinking it's called Africa Harbor. I think it's called like Erica Harbor.
Yeah, I think it's Erica Harbor.
Yeah, Erica. And you played. So eventually, you started off like on. If you play as the attackers, as the Americans, you have to like attack their initial base to like punch through into the village, punch through into the harbor town, and you essentially fight in the streets of this sea town before you get to the main harbor area, to like the shipping to the dockyard. And I always thought that was a really fun map to play Rush on. So that one, that map, Erica Harbor and White Pass, favorite from Bad Company 2. For Bad Company 3, I'm also gonna have to use my cheat code, my cheat code here.
Cheater.
I loved all the maps. For Bad Company 3.
God.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I can't
Company
just pick
3.
a couple. All the maps. No, Battlefield 3. Excuse me. Battlefield 3.
We find out you know some insider trading for the next Battlefield game.
I wish Bad Company 3 would come out. But for Battlefield 3, I loved all the maps. I recall at the time I wasn't a big fan of Tehran Highway. I just don't think I like the layout of the map on the 360.
Yeah.
Because on one side it was the gas station, right, and then the other side was the town, and then in the middle it was the highway, which it was like it was like an ambush convoy. Like there was the truck on fire, all the vehicles were there, and I just recall it was just a big like fish in a barrel kind of thing, and it was a pain in the ass to cap that flag. But otherwise, all the maps, even the DLC maps, Armored Shield, Armored Kill. Armored Shield was one of the maps. Armored Kill, there was the Close Quarters, Aftermath. Endgame. But all the maps I liked. I didn't really have any real issue with those, and I loved the Battlefield 3 maps. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the map layouts, and I didn't really find any major issue with those. With I almost said Bad Company again. With Battlefield 4, my favorite map is Dawnbreaker. I love the city, fighting in the city, the urban environments, fighting in downtown Shanghai, or I think that was the city Dawnbreaker was set in.
Yeah, I believe so.
Or like another city in China. So I like the fighting in the financial district, in the offices. Like on B Flag, you're fighting through the offices, or you're fighting in the garages, in the parking garage. And there was a point if you played on Rush, like after you advance like midway, the street collapses in the middle, like the bridge collapses in the middle, and then the street paves in, and it opens up an area like an underground tunnel that you could fight through. And I was like, that's just amazing. Like that's just awesome. Like that urban combat. Battlefield Hardline, favorite map was Bank Job. One of my all-time favorite movies is Heat. So I thought it was awesome that you get to play as the cops and robbers trying to rob a bank. The cops trying to stop the robbers trying to get away with the money. So I thought that was pretty cool. Battlefield 1, Ballroom Blitz. Then for Battlefield 5, this map recently came out, but Province I liked. You're fighting in France, and then there's like the open field. I like the urban combat. And then the other map is Twisted Metal, or Twisted Steel, where you're fighting on the bridge, and the bridge is collapsed. I thought that was pretty cool.
Bridge.
So those are my favorite maps.
Another one I forgot to mention really quick, Naval Strike from Battlefield 4. I just love, going to the other person's ship and trying to destroy their ship. Wasn't the Megalodon in Naval Strike? Or am I thinking of the wrong Battlefield?
So the Megalodon, if I recall correctly, that was an Easter egg on Paracel Storm on Battlefield 4. So yeah, Battlefield 4, but it was on Paracel Storm. That was one of the vanilla maps. I don't remember if there was an Easter egg for any of the other maps. Like, I don't know if the Megalodon returned, but did you ever get to see the Megalodon? Did you ever try to get an Easter egg, or you just saw like videos or something?
I just saw videos on YouTube, and for a good while I thought it was fake, but I now know it to be true. But I have never seen the Megalodon myself in person. It's still on my bucket list to do as well.
We'll have to do it one of these days before they shut down the servers.
So, out of the games you've played in the Battlefield franchise so far, which do you feel are underrated in your opinion?
Oh, my answer definitely has to be Battlefield Hardline, with concerns to an underrated Battlefield game. Or maybe the game that gets the most undeserved flack definitely has to be Hardline. I think Hardline by itself, if DICE made the game and they just dropped the Battlefield name and just called it Hardline, I think it would have been received better. Sick, how do you feel about that? What do you feel is the most underrated Battlefield game?
Definitely have to say Battlefield Hardline. It did try to cater to a different crowd with the Call of Duty faithful, and pulling in with that close combat kind of feeling. I know it may not have the grandiose scale of a bigger conflict, but with those tight-knit corners, I feel that the gameplay sticks to what it puts out there and has a Battlefield kind of spin to close quarters combat, and I can really appreciate that. The second game I feel is underrated is the expansion for Bad Company 2 is Battlefield Vietnam. I feel like DICE should have made it its own separate game, and I feel because of the fact it's an add-on, people already have the notion of, oh, it's an add-on, why do I need to buy that? Also the fact that, as years goes on, people can't play that add-on because of players dropping and people who don't own the content as well too, just seeing the decline in playership. Now luckily, recently I was able to just play the add-on and have fun with a few people, but the combat and the setting of the game, of the add-on, is just really fun to play. You get to listen to classical rock music from the era. I just think that was just so fun to listen to that classical rock music of the era while you're in the chopper or in the tank.
Well, on a lighter note, Mr. Sick, we talked about our favorite Battlefield games, our favorite memories, what kind of players we were. I think we may have overlooked one very important question.
What's that?
One that I think our viewers will never forgive us if we do not ask or not talk about this question, or if we ask ourselves this. Sick, I want you to be completely honest.
Oh, jeez.
Messed up.
Really grinding.
Did you... I'm going... Listen here.
Oh,
Did you ever bunny hop? Did you bunny hop on Battlefield?
So, no. I never bunny hopped, but because I'm not an angel either, I did used to jet ram a lot.
Oh my god, that's even more terrible.
I used to jet ram, and then I was also that guy who was using the A12 when the server admin specifically said not to.
Oh, so you were one of those guys who go into those servers, no camping, no igloos, no stingers, no tanks, and you do the exact opposite of what they said. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that goes into a whole other thing of those servers and those rules.
in my defense, if it was such a bad thing, the developer shouldn't have put it in the game to begin with. So don't try and tell me that I can't use something that I can easily press a button and assign it to myself. Just saying, for all future server admins out there, if you could tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it exactly. Well, that was the whole thing back then, especially for Battlefield 3. Everyone and their mother had a server. Every platoon had their own server. Any clan, any group, brand, whatever. Anyone had their own server. Any grandma and grandpa had their own server too. And everyone had their rules and their crazy requirements. You could only do this, only do that. And it was like a bunch of mini Napoleons riding around. The ones that burned me the most, the ones that got me upset the most, were these people where they say no stingers. And then the server admin would be like camping the helicopter. He'd be camping the spawn, getting like 50 kills with the helicopter. And if you kill him once, he kicks you out. And I thought, wow, what an injustice. I demand a trial. I want my attorney. So you had a bunch of people like that. It was fun to mess around with them, of course. You know, going into servers and trying to get mess around with the server admins or whatever it is. That was a whole other thing. Trying to get mess around with C4 jeeping, using iglas, doing whatever they said to not do and still do. I remember I had mentioned earlier that I used to play with a platoon back then, and a lot of them were British, and we used to play a lot of European servers. And I recall a rule back then with some of these servers, like, oh, no Americans, no non-EU people. And they said, if you're American, you're banned. And I was like, whoa, this is attack on my country, goddammit. This is attack on me.
It's war.
So, and it got so bad because these people would literally check your profiles and they would see what country you're in, and they'd ban you. And they say, oh, you're from the United States, you're from Canada, you're banned. So I remember, to get around it,
Oh my god.
I had to change my region to UK to GMT. So when they look at my profile, it would say I'm from the United Kingdom.
Oh
And
my
just
God.
the crazy shit, the crazy crap you had to do to play with your friends, or to play, or whatever it was. So yeah, it was the Wild West then. Different time. You don't see that much going on now. I don't even think arena servers are in Battlefield 5. I may be wrong. Then with going back to the original question, with that side rant out of the way, with concerns to bunny hopping. Oh, I bunny hopped all the time. Bunny hopping was just so funny, and especially in Battlefield 3, like if you bunny hopped, you would mess around with the hit detection, and people like couldn't shoot you and be like, oh, I can't shoot him, he's a bunny. He keeps on bouncing around everywhere, and that was just hilarious. It was just funny, and I still do it now somewhat in Battlefield 5, but it's not as funny. You're more sluggish. You have like freaking. If you have a boulder, or like a fucking canyon on the back of your on your backpack or whatever.
Anchor.
And it's like, oh, these guys are supposed to be premier super soldiers, and it's like you can't bunny hop.
Well, we haven't had a chance to talk about this yet, but did you watch any Battlefield themed content on the internet?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Battlefield friends. That's funny because we were just talking about bunny hopping. I think those guys are single-handedly responsible for popularizing the whole bunny hopping term. I think once they did that episode, everyone started doing it. So yeah, absolutely. Battlefield friends, they're relatable because that squad that they played with. You had the noob, you had the two friends, you had kind of the serious guy, you had the Colonel 100, you had the veteran, you had the veteran disguised as a noob. You had all these different characters, and these are all people that you came across in the Battlefield community back then. These people have, like, now it's funny, like the veteran, like, oh, back in Battlefield, they talk about 1942. I feel like we're that now. Back in my day with Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, so it's funny how it all comes about. But the whole the skits that they did, the server admins being like dictators, switching people, the Colonel 100, the shit bucket, the switch bucket, no shotguns allowed, the shit bucket. Oh my god, the shit bucket, that's hilarious. I'm promoted.
The learning to fly
we
the
still do that to this day.
Yeah.
The helicopter, everything. So that was one of the Battlefield, that was some of the content I used to watch on the internet back then, back in 2011, 2012. Another person I used to watch was called Level Cap Gaming. or level cap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was, yeah, he was really Battlefield focused back then. So he would do a lot of weapon reviews. He would do a lot of map reviews. I specifically recall when Battlefield Premium started to roll out. So Battlefield Premium, that was like their DLC roadmap sort of thing. So if you get Battlefield Premium, you get access to all the DLC packs. You get access to like some dog tags, outfits, things like that. That was like their bonus perk thing. You're supporting the game or whatever it is. Battlefield Premium.
Mm. Right.
So when the first expansion came out, Close Quarters, I remember watching all his videos about all the maps, strategies, the different weapons, the LSAT, all the new guns, and I really liked his insight. I used to watch him. He did a lot of like reviews and analysis, things like that. And then another person I used to watch with Battlefield 3, I used to follow the competitive scene, quote unquote. There was one team or one person I used to watch. His name was Wally. Iconic Wally, that was the team he was part of, Iconic, and he used to do a lot of Battlefield streams, Battlefield 3 streams, Battlefield 3 content. I used to watch all his scrims, all his videos. I remember he did a video on tank tips, and I was like, oh wow, this is really cool, so I used to watch that, pick up on things, and I would watch his streams. I would just pick on some things that he would do, or that his team would do. Like there's this one trick with the repair tool, kind of a random fact, but let's say you're an engineer and you have a repair tool and you start repairing the tank. After a while, you keep holding down the trigger to repair your repair tool will like stop and it'll be on cooldown. You'll have to wait like 2-3 seconds. So I found a little trick where if you count to 7 seconds in your head, you let go of the trigger really quick and then you start repairing again. You will it'll disable the cooldown. It won't go into a cooldown status. You'll kind of like reset the progress. So it's kind of like a little trick. A little trick I picked up on back then to keep repairing continuous repair effect without going into cooldown. So if he's watching out there somewhere, wherever you are out there somewhere, I picked up on that and I still use it this day. What about yourself? Were you a internet savvy person back then? Were you following anyone in particular for Battlefield content back then?
Well, I was watching Battlefield Friends as well too. You know, just so relatable with their situations and the players, like you said. Also watched Level Cap too. You know, watched his tips, tricks, how-tos, and in-depth detail look analysis of maps, guns, attachments. I still always love the M4A1 Battlefield 3. My ride or die gun. Even like, he would like shoot at the wall sometimes and like do the accuracy analysis. And he like walk up, the character like walk up to the wall and like look at the wall. The day before free cameras. Just
the things they had to do back then.
And then the only other Battlefield content I ever watched was when Battlefield 4 came out. And it's funny enough that we talk about this in our last discussion video, but the USA versus Europe competition that Major Nelson and I forget who the UK guy is, and they both faced each other in Battlefield 4. But besides those three things, that was pretty much it on Battlefield content. Nowadays, it's hard to find like a streamer that streams just Battlefield, just goes into depth details with different Battlefield-esque things. I mean, I know Level Cap is still around, but he still talks about many other different things, and that's every creator's right too. It's just that, I want more Battlefield-focused things.
All right. Well, I think our trip down memory lane has concluded. I think we've talked about everything in the past, games that we liked, content creators that we liked. Did we ever bunny hop? Things like that. Talk about Battlefield games of old, Mr. Sick. But what about Battlefield today?
Oh no!
What's going on?
No.
What, Battlefield don't exist? What's going on?
No.
Sick. Let's get to the hard-hitting questions here now.
Oh
okay.
jeez.
What are your thoughts about Battlefield today? What do you think about Battlefield today? The status, where it's at. What do you think?
Well, as much as it hurts me to say it, because I do love the Battlefield series in its entirety. It's just that some of the newest games that came out, like BF1 and BF5, do have hits and misses. Not to we'll definitely go into detail in a little bit here, but they didn't carry over mechanics from past games that really needed to be in the new titles. and it feels like they do good with some things and then mess up where it counts, you know. And like I said, it's just a hit and miss. But what about you, Rune?
What do I think about Battlefield today? I don't know. It's definitely in a rough patch right now. I feel Battlefield is not even being included in conversations about what are the main multiplayer games nowadays. I feel it's just out of the conversation. You know, back in the day, it always was Battlefield versus Call of
Versus
Duty
Call of Duty. Mm-hmm.
or something like that. Now it's like Battlefield is like just not in the equation anywhere.
Battle
You
what?
don't really see it. Battle, huh?
And that also
It-
attests to the rise of indie developers. You know, games like Insurgent, Squad. You know, there's a bunch Postscriptum. There's a bunch of other shooters that are coming out as well too. That you know, people tend to gravitate more to. While you know, some people may feel that the recent Battlefield games have been lower quality, while also Call of Duty has been upping their game more and more and more. Maybe also pulling back some of the Battlefield faithful with their brand new ground war mode. You know, I've tried that out. It's pretty much feels like a conquest mode to me, just with kill streaks now.
What'd you think about Battlefield, or the folks at DICE announcing that Battlefield 5 content updates are going to be ceasing, are going to be ending this summer?
Honestly, it's really frustrating because you know and Rune could attest to this too. I was supporting Battlefield 5 from the day it launched. You know, I just think it's really silly that you know they promised all this content to us and they just leave us on the floor with dirt kicked into our eye and say, "Yeah, we're done. We're packing the bags and we're moving on to the next Battlefield," which is probably not going to be
Yeah.
released until 2021 of the fall season. Uh, so we have a year plus with no new content for this game, and what's probably going to happen is that people are going to start dropping off the game because there's no new content. You know, they'll probably go back to older Battlefields, which is fine. It's just that you start losing the player base of this newer Battlefield that you know is only about close to, I want to say, what, 2 years into its life cycle. You know, you have games that you know, for example, like Rainbow Six Siege, just to throw out there, Overwatch, and see you know they've continued content updating. It's just sad to see that it's not carried over into Battlefield 5 when Battlefield is a main staple for DICE and what has kept them in business for all these years.
It's just it's being tossed aside. They're not even half the stuff that they wanted to do. It's just gone. I think that the whole process misguided, a lot of missteps. The marketing for it, you know, going on the Daily Show with Trevor Noah to promote their new game. It's like, listen, I have no ill will towards the Daily Show, but you're going to Comedy Central to promote this Battlefield game. It's just really weird. And it's like the guy, Trevor Noah. I mean, I don't know if he's a gamer or not, but it didn't seem interested. He was just doing it for a paycheck. Oh, what's this Battlefield thing? What do you kids play nowadays? Huh? And it's like he's talking to this freaking the developers there, and they look like they're being held hostage. Like, you better say something. This game is great. You better say something. And just everything. It felt like there was no plan, disorganized. The whole launch of Firestorm, the Battle Royale mode. When I first heard Firestorm, I thought they were bringing back Operation Firestorm from Battlefield 3. But it was just this Battle Royale mode, and it was just so clunky, and it was a big, just a flop. And after that, it felt like it sucked everything out of Battlefield 5. And now it's just there. You mentioned the Pacific Storm update, and you know they had something there, but it was just maybe too. It was just too late, and most attention was off of it. And not shortly after the specific Storm update come out, they're announcing that they're ending, you know, content support, and they're moving on. It's like, wow. It's like even Battlefield 4 received support many years later afterwards. The community operation maps, the Bad Company, the community choice packs, you know, and that kind of goes into another aspect. You know, the loss of the sense of community. You know, I mentioned Battlelog earlier. I think once Battlelog support ended, I think a big chunk of that sense of community was lost, because you had all the Battlefield players on there, a lot of people on there talking with each other, talking about the game, interacting with each other. And once that hub was closed down, it was like I felt like something was lost there, that community interaction.
One of the other things too was, just the broken promises of, future content updates. We were supposed to get Stalingrad, we were supposed to get D-Day. They promised all these things to us too, and none of it was delivered. And even with the content that we got, it was, given to us like crumbs, crumb drops along the way. Yeah.
Or limited time game modes. Try and pull a Fortnite or something. Use that as an example. Oh, Rush is back only this weekend. I'm like, what in tarnation? Missing features, everything, Levolution. It felt, I don't know, just everything. Map design. It felt like it was a degrading, or they went backwards.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like that one map. What's it called? Devastation. And it's like you spawn in, everything is already destroyed, and you can't destroy anything. It's like, well, what happened? It seems like somebody was already here.
So we pressed the Levolution button.
Back in the previous games, that was the big positive for me. Look, there was a camper in there, those pesky campers in Call of Duty. Oh, he's camping. But in Battlefield, you get a rocket launcher, you blow that wall up. Screw that guy.
That house collapses.
In this one, it's like, ugh. It's like, oh, destructibility is like, platoon support, clan support was not added right away, and it was just oof. Rent servers, I don't know, it's just all over the place. And crumbs, drip feed content. Another minor thing, I don't like how they took away team chat. So Battlefield 3, you were able to, you had your squad chat, then you had your team chat, and you could communicate with the other squad leaders, talking about, oh, where are you, what are you doing, things like that, or you could talk with other people who had the same setting. I'm just saying, I don't know, it probably may not work that well with you have 32 people. Back then it was a little easier maybe with 12.
As we share our, disappointment with the game, where did you feel that Battlefield 5 went wrong, and do you think that anybody else can be blamed for the direction that the game took?
I think I may have went into a whole lot of, I went into the whole where did Battlefield 5 go wrong. Loss of features, not being organized, not having a plan, misguided approach from the very beginning, going to the Comedy Central to promote their game, the lack of features, lack of a roadmap, and just tossing it aside. Now, well, we're done with it. So mismanagement, probably the biggest thing, where they went wrong. Mismanagement compared to previous, how they treated previous games. And then with concerns to who to blame, because that's what we're here for. Who are we gonna freaking blame? Whose fault it is? Well, I got 2 letters for you here, Sick.
Oh gosh, here we go.
EA.
No.
Well,
no.
I don't know. Who do you blame? Do you blame EA too? Who do you blame?
Well, there's a lot that went wrong with the game. Let me start off first with, before I jump into mechanics, let me start off with the top. You obviously have to blame the marketing team and the way they presented the game to us. Now, I'm gonna be real with everybody, okay? Having women presented in Battlefield 5 does not upset me. I'm totally okay with that. However, you do have some of the demographic that obviously cared about historical accuracy, which they tried to present as if it was a historically accurate kind of game through their marketing, to try and appease those fans so that they would purchase the title. While you had their creative director, Patrick Sutherland, he was saying, if you don't like it, then don't buy it. Don't buy the game. I feel that if they had said that their game was loosely based around, or they just wanted to promote fun, that would have got the heat off their back for that instance. Another one I want to say is splitting the team at DICE. You have Battlefield 5 being worked on, but also you had the team working on Star Wars Battlefront 2 and trying to recoup from what people felt was a mess from the loot box controversy. So you had your team divided up into two, one doing a spectacular job in providing content update and things to do for the game in Star Wars Battlefront 2, while the other team was struggling to fix their game, get their game right for Battlefield 5. They should have just focused on one project, get it done, and then continue on to the next. And it's not the first time we waited years for a Battlefield game. They usually take like a 2 to 3 year development cycle. So waiting wouldn't have been an issue for me. Also, another thing, going into the mechanics now, there was no customization. There were only you can only buy these paint jobs through in-game currencies, and sometimes through paying out of your pocket. You look at games like Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3. You had in-depth grips, you had in-depth sights, and yes, you could say it's the time period and things like that. But then, if you're going to come to with that issue because of historical accuracy or whatever obstacles you may come around, then maybe not pick that era if you're going to have an issue like that. Another thing is lack of content at the start of at launch type. We only had a few maps day one players. We only had a few maps to play with Battlefield 5, and not a lot of game modes either. They took months to work on the Firestorm add-on, like you said, with the Battle Royale. But that's because, like I just said earlier, their team was split into 2 groups with working on Battlefront 2. Also, there were also bugs, glitches. I fell through the map at one point. Sometimes when you would spawn, and you couldn't hear your gun being fired. It was just silent.
Oh man. Yeah, you spawn in, your character wasn't even loaded in. Like it was like you were like this stick figure.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
And sometimes you couldn't even be seen; you'd be invisible. Oh, like there was so many.
Bring back bad memories.
And and sometimes my game even crashed and shut down my Xbox sometimes.
So you think a big issue or an issue was that the team was split up and they're basically working with half the power. They were pretty much going literally half-assed into it.
Pretty much, and I'm grateful. I love Battlefront 2, and I think the community knows that as well too, and how much I've supported that game since day one as well too. But splitting the team to work on Battlefront 2 while Battlefield 5 was in freefall was a big mistake on their part, because they need all the help they could get to fix that, to get that game to working standards. So if they had the whole team together, we probably would have gotten a lot of more content on day one, and we probably, to be honest, would have had the updates and more content readily available to carry us into Battlefield 2021. I say 2021 because I don't know the title of the next one, but
it's kind of a tale of two cities then, because you see Battlefront 2, how far they've come. They went through similar issues. Remember the backlash on Battlefront 2. Dear God Almighty!
Oh gosh,
felt like it was being freaking crucified, that game. All the memes, all the videos, all the people hating on it. It's like, oh, screw them, F you EA, F you. But they've been able to recover. So this, they split up the team. It seems like the Battlefield folks, or the Battlefield section of it, kind of got the shorter stick. Is it because now conspiracy tinfoil hat time? Is it because they have a Disney license? They had to fix it. They had to fix Battlefront 2, or they were going to lose the licenence. So they really had to. I think they had to get their shit in gear with Battlefield. Like, whatever. Yeah, do whatever. What are you doing?
I think probably because Disney stepped on their throats and said, "You better fix your freaking game, or else."
You better fix your shit. Yeah, shame, really. You mentioned a lot of stuff: lack of content, drip feed, the communication was off, the plan was off, the marketing. I kind of touched on a little bit with the whole going on Comedy Central to promote their game, and you mentioned historical accuracy. I'm not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole. I think maybe looking back, hindsight, vision's always 2020. I think the director, should have not said anything. Because you have some other, Call of Duty World War II. That the story may be accurate, I don't know, but the online definitely isn't. Okay, at one point you had a bunch of zombies running around on Omaha Beach. It's like, and I didn't really see a lot of complaints about historical accuracy. But maybe because they didn't, Activision and Sledgehammer didn't advertise it that way. They didn't say anything. They kept their mouth shut. So here's
Yeah,
a player game.
that's another issue too. Is like, I understand people feel that, the developers over there felt the need to defend their work as well too. But you're fighting against the internet, and sometimes the internet always wins.
Yes. I think if they had a better roadmap, if they started out strong when the game came out and started off strong, I think they would have been able to shake off any shake off that criticism or shake off that bad whatever it was. But it just kind of it lingered. Felt like they were already wounded going in, and then they lost another leg right when they went in there. I won't doubt. You mentioned you support Battlefield 5 and everything. Just to give context, yeah, Sick was in terms of community, looking through the lens of the Tavern community. Yeah, definitely Sick was there. We gotta do Battlefield 5. Don't let the internet, don't let other people dictate what we should play. So we've done numerous Battlefield 5 events, and they all were fun. It's always the whole gimmick of it's better with your friends. And that's definitely true with Battlefield 5. Well, we've always had a good time with it. It's just, apart from that, those are the only really good things I could say about Battlefield 5, were the events, were the game nights. And maybe that was more because I was playing with friends and we were messing around and we were not playing the game as proudly as it should. You think of Battlefield playing FPS shooters, go over here, bro, cap this flag. On my flank, watch my six. It's more like, oh, look, let me see if I can attach C4 to your Jeep and ride in the river and try to do whatever. Look how far can I launch my vehicle in the air.
Launch my
So it's kind of like
body up in the air.
It's been a rough road. And hopefully
Yeah,
they can
I mean-
recover from, this chapter, close this chapter and move on and improve down the line. Because everyone loves a good comeback story.
The thing is, they have to make the comeback now, or if they do another mess up,
They don't.
I don't I don't know if they're gonna come back.
I know we already have one foot in the grave for Battlefield here, but if we could get it out of its grave, if we could get it out of its current state, how do we think? How can Battlefield improve in the future? What do we think? What can they do to get out of this rut?
I've come up with my own list of things I'd like to see in the next Battlefield title. I want five-man squads. I want that back.
Absolutely.
Getting reduced back to 4 is just silly at this point, where we have a console that could put 60 some odd players, probably even more, because there's some games out there that even at last gen that threw like 100 and some odd players into one. Let's get those high player numbers in there. Let's get more people on squads. I also want the squad system to work better. A nice, easy flow through squad system where I just invite somebody and they join in. They don't have to jump through hoops to join my server to, jump into like the game, like some previous Battlefields were. I want to see better customization options. Whether you have to put the game in modern settings, then so we could have those customizations. I want to fully flesh out whatever gun that I have. I'm going to spend quote-unquote in-world cash or pull my wallet out, make me earn those things through challenges and things like that. Another thing I'd like to see is them to rework the vehicle spawn. I want it to be like Battlefield 4, where everybody would just race to the vehicles and just grab it, and if you don't get it, too bad, so sad.
Too bad.
The way that they have it now is kind of silly, where everybody sits on top of the little spawn point and just mashes A button until they spawn in the plane, which is already in the air for some weird reason. Why can't we just have the takeoff like we used to? Maybe also bring back the turning point mechanic with like in BF1, where like you get your behemoth. That was an interesting concept. I'd like to see that back. Maybe bring back Battle Log. Maybe bring back
Battle Log. Woo!
You really want to try and get your community engaged. So, Rode, I want you to imagine you're in the EA/DICE production meeting, and they look at you and they ask you for your ideas for the next Battlefield game. What would you suggest to them?
If I was in a production meeting with EA and they said, what should I do? Free-to-play Battle Royale.
Oh,
Fortnite. Partner up with Fortnite.
No,
That's what they should do.
I kick you out myself. I drag you out of here like, oh, let's go.
Oh,
Let's go.
all
Get
right.
out of here. No.
Since I value my job at EA, I'm going to offer a serious proposal with concerns to the next Battlefield game. So one part of me wants Bad Company 3, a proper sequel to Bad Company 2 to resolve that storyline. Because spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't played Bad Company 2, spoiler alert. At the end of it, Russia is invading the United States through Canada, and it just kind of ends on a cliffhanger and never gets resolved. So that's how kind of always bothered me. But it doesn't seem like there's any interest. There doesn't seem to be any interest in bringing back Bad Company 3 or doing Bad Company 3. I think there's even an article out there, one of the game directors or people over there like, oh, why did everyone like Bad Company anyway? Well, because it was fun.
And it's crazy because like the further we go out to, I think the harder it is for people to try and remember the story or like have its relevancy as we push farther and farther away from Bad Company 2. So I do see your argument there for like why now kind of idea.
So I'm ruling out a Bad Company 3. I mean, they could take a Modern Warfare strategy and like reboot the series, do reimagining, so they could come out with Battlefield Bad Company, and they reintroduce Marlowe, they reintroduce Haggard in a new setting, a new timeline. So that's kind of like a dream thing. That's kind of one of the things that'd be one of the things I would pitch them, a reimagining of Bad Company. Another idea that I would have is for the next Battlefield game, definitely be in a modern setting, modern military combat. With concerns to the setting, I'm getting inspiration from Tom Clancy's Red Storm Rising. So NATO versus the Soviet Union. So something like that. I liked, they kind of explored that a little bit in Battlefield 4, the conflict between China, US, and Russia. Like there was like this three-way battle, this dance of death. And it felt like it was leading up to a battle in the next game and never got into it, so maybe I'd like to re-explore that option. Take a lot of inspiration from Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, gunplay, gun customization, progression system. Now let's say for the sake of theory, I just told them this idea and they say, Ruin, you're fired. And they say, Sick, come on in. I want to hear your idea.
Yeah, I am so ready. I love you guys.
What would you tell them?
Thank you so much for bringing me on board. We're going to get this thing rocking to the ceiling. Yeah, people are going to be so happy with what we do. All right, so first, would be hoping to do the next fully remake for Battlefield Vietnam, but include the customizations because they are more modernized weapons. Then do the 5-man squads, do a lot of what I had just mentioned previously, but also add a fully fledged campaign where you get to play in some of the battles, land with the Huey. The little Huey-copters, just a lot of throwbacks to that era and that war, and definitely have, again with the music, a heavy rock tone, and just have it play throughout like multiplayer and campaign. Definitely do customizations for like face paints, outfits, things you can hang around your neck. If you want to hang around bullets, like your Rambo.
Ooh, Rambo's sick. I could just picture it right now.
Or you have a deck of cards stuck in your helmet. But they're all in-game available. You don't have to purchase anything else. And in terms of, DLC, maybe, do some alternate history stuff, maybe have the Russians, help the North Koreans or something like that. Like, you don't have to stick to history, just do some crazy things, like the first, what was it? The first expansion for BF3 was the earthquake that happened. Do something.
Yeah, Aftermath. I don't know if it was the first
Aftermath?
one, but yeah, like that. There was an earthquake. Yeah, and they were all like Yeah, Aftermath. Yeah, that one was
like,
really fun.
Something like that, just to get it out of the norm. Also, you could like set traps when you're playing as the Vietnamese. You could set traps. You could have players like walk into a bear trap, fall all the way down, or maybe fall into a pit where they have to. Respawn themselves.
Oh my god, I can only imagine.
It'd
be like that. This would be like that. Like that scene from The Silence of the Lambs, when Buffalo Bill looks down the hall. But in this case, it'd be you. Like, let's say you trap me. It's like I can't get out, and I see you up there. You're blocking eclipsing the sun. Hello there.
What you doing down there? I got a grenade. Happy birthday. Well, I think that wraps pretty much everything, would you say?
Yep. Yeah, I think we covered pretty much all that there can be talked about. What's your favorite game? What's your least favorite game? What's your favorite map? Your least favorite map? So we covered all the bases. Yeah, it was a fun discussion. I really liked talking with you again, and talking about Battlefield and our histories with it, and learning something about each other and the series by talking. So it was great. I thank you. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you as well. I'd like to say thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you at the next game night.